right, we only have about 15 minutes left. We've had a lot of great content so far, so I'll try to buzz through my content here pretty quickly. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys is Hour of Code. And you might be curious what the heck the Hour of Code is, and it kind of sounds a little bit intimidating, right? It's like this hour of coding, like how am I supposed to do this with my kids? I have a really great video that is 2 minutes long, but since I'm trying to conserve time, we are going to glide right on past this, but I encourage you to come back and watch it. Just kidding, I don't want to watch that video. But basically what the Hour of Code is it's a simple way to introduce students to the idea of computer science and coding. So doesn't matter what level of coder you are, whether you've never even thought about code in your life, or you are a professional, whatever setting you want to host an Hour of Code in, Hour of Code is a great introductory to computer science. So I just want to show you it in action. We're not going to have time to go hands-on here, but there is a website. It is linked in the PowerPoint, which I will send you guys, and it's Hour of Code. And I just want to draw your attention that there are all kinds of filters. So if you've got kids who are grade 2 through 5, we have Hour of Code activities for that. If you've got 6th graders, if you've got high schoolers, you have all kinds of filters you can apply. You can also decide if this is beginner level coders or if they are a little bit more comfortable with coding. There's also all kinds of filters here, including a recommended, who created it, different classroom technology, different educational topics. So if you're trying to integrate coding in your math curriculum, you can check math, and it's going to find coding activities that align with that. You can also look for self-led tutorials if you want your students to go at their own pace, or there is content with lesson plans that you can work with your students. You can also restrict it to that 1 hour, so you can really stay true to the Hour of Code meaning, or you have 1 hour with follow-ups or something that's a few hours. I really want to highlight this really quickly. If you do have students with different needs in your classroom, there are all kinds of accessibility supports as well. So there's screen reader support, text-to-speech report, keyboard navigation, captions, high contrast, and so you can toggle some of these on to find activities that are going to match your learners where they're at. And all of these activities are fairly self-explanatory. So we'll do self-led tutorial, we're interested in math, and maybe we want some keyboard navigation. Great, so here's all these activities that fit within that. And then you can go ahead and pick one, like let's do math multiplication. And it's gonna get you right in there. There'll be a little bit of intro video here, which we're not gonna take time to watch. And then we are going to use our blocks to do our multiplication problem. So we've got butterflies here, so maybe we're figuring out how the butterflies multiply. One thing, I just kind of glossed right on past it here, but once you click on an activity, you'll see a little bit more information about it. You'll also have resources, including teacher notes, student experience, classroom technology that this matches with, and what standards this aligns with, and what language it's in. So you have a lot of great information and you're able to just jump right in and do these with your students. At Modesto City Schools, we also have some coding apps that have been approved. They are also linked on this slide. So if I click on MCS coding apps, it's going to take you right to this web page and you have your different grade levels and you can click to expand those out. So some of these are going to be from code.org, which is the website we just saw. They're just going to be a little bit more curated. So there's a single lesson, a course, Discovery Education app, Microbits, which we just learned about, and MakeCode. We can go into another grade level and we're going to see very similar things. We're going to see Hour of Code, Make Flappy Game, courses, and the Discovery Ed coding app. So there's a lot of great content to support the idea of the Hour of Code. And basically, just kind of to talk about this, the idea of the Hour of Code is just to do an hour of coding with your students. It's pretty straightforward in the name there. So the idea is to do an hour of code with your students. And this code.org, which is where we were here, offers all kinds of activities to support that idea of an hour of code with your students. That being said, they're not just throwing you into the deep end and saying, here, do an hour. There is some guidelines around it. So let's take a look at how we could maybe conduct an hour of code with our class if we were interested. If you want to participate in the official hour of code, which is run by code.org, that happens to be this week. So from December 4th through the 10th is the official hour of code. And the idea is to get as many individuals, as many students, as many schools to participate and learn coding. Now, you're not going to learn coding in an entire hour. That's not quite possible. But the idea is to dive in, try an hour, and hopefully spark your students' interest in coding. Now, that being said, that's real short notice, right? I know we are coming into finals. We are coming into the end of the trimester or the semester. So that might not work for everybody. That's okay. If this is something that you think might be beneficial to your class, do an hour anyway and make it a goal to do it for Computer Science Week next year. Or try it half an hour, or try 20 minutes, or go home and just try it yourself for a little while, just to see what this coding thing is all about and see that it is pretty approachable, especially if you start with that block coding that we saw with Microbit and that we saw with Abigail's presentation. Now, if you are interested in doing an hour of code, what do you need? You don't need to be an expert. You don't need special devices. You can do it with the content and the devices you have in your room. So this is just a very brief checklist here. You need dedicated class time. You need the students to bring their Chromebooks. So at the K-6 level, you might need to remind them, charge it overnight, bring it every day. The 7-12 level, hopefully they're used to bringing it every day by now, but just you need those devices in the classroom. A lot of these activities will work just fine on Chromebook, so you don't need anything special. And then you're probably going to want your kids to bring headphones. Every student was issued a set of earbuds with their device. That being said, they can use whatever earbuds they would like to on their device. But if they're walking through tutorials and they're playing games and they're building content, that with 30 to 40 kids in the room, that might be a lot. So headphones might be the one thing that you really want to enforce with them. And then student excitement. Although students do get pretty excited anytime there's something new to do, especially around this idea of they might be making a video game, they might be interacting with a device that lights up and spells their name, they might be learning something new. So the student excitement piece is pretty easy. And that's really all you need to get started. The next thing you would need to do is pick a date. And then this here is just kind of a rough idea of what a lesson plan could look like. So when you are ready to do the hour of code, or you can even kind of tease it a little bit, you can start with an inspirational video or two. And you'll notice I have a link here to a 20-minute timer. So that's not the right link. I'll update that link before I send it to you. The Hour of Code has all kinds of videos for you guys. Here we go. All kinds of videos for you guys to share with your students. There's one from President Obama. There's one that has Mark Zuckerberg in it. There's one on what is creativity, because people don't often associate computer science with creativity, but you need both in order to be successful. So there's all kinds of inspirational videos that you can play to get your students excited about the idea of an hour with code. And then, like with any activity, it's always a good idea to set some context. So maybe have a class discussion about the importance of technology. You could do that in class. You could do a flip assignment. You could do a writing activity, just something to kind of get them thinking about why technology is important and why they might want to learn how it works and how to create the code that runs the technology. And then from there, you direct them to your preferred activity or activities. So let's say you've gone through the Hour of Code website here and you've curated 2 or 3 activities and you're going to give them a choice. What I recommend is putting those links in Schoology. Maybe make an Hour of Code folder, give them a choice of 3 or 4 lessons, and let them go ham on the lessons you've curated for them. Because I can guarantee you that if you just set them loose on this site here without any guidelines as far as grade level, ability level, they're going to find something and they might get a little bit stuck. So good idea to curate for them. But once you've curated the coding activity that you want them to do and you posted those in Schoology for them, giving them a choice or just directing them to one, they're good. They can go code for an hour. You can walk around, support them, pull students together if they're having trouble, encourage your top learners to help the students that might be struggling. And then after the hour is over, we always want to end with a closure. So let's talk about what we tried, what we learned. Let's talk about our successes. A lot of these Hour of Codes will come with certificates, or you could make your own certificates in Canva and give them an Hour of Code certificate to celebrate their achievement. There's also PBIS points, 5-star reward points, or any other way that you want to celebrate that they did something really cool and they started learning how to code. And that's it. That's all you really need to do to get started and kind of plan an hour of code lesson. Now, I can hear the like, okay, yeah, that's it, but we have all this other stuff we have to do. And I totally respect that. It's can be hard to kind of fit this in your class time, especially if you've got a curriculum that you're really trying to stick to. But this can be a really great activity to kind of further student engagement. And you can really try and find some hour of code activities that already align to the content that you're trying to teach. So hopefully some of you give it a try.